The news that every NBA fan has been waiting for has arrived as Commissioner Adam Silver has officially announced the expansion of the NBA to 32 teams ahead of the 2023 NBA season. Now, the first of the two teams to be added will come to the surprise of no one, as the Seattle Sonics are being reinstated to the league. Seattle is a market that has been clamoring for NBA basketball to return for some time, and it's just been a matter of time for their wishes to be granted. Now, they will not be going back to their old style of branding. That will continue to be, a retro option for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Instead, they've opted to modernize a bit with their branding, still staying with their old colors, but giving a modern twist to how it will look. However, they will be returning to Climate Pledge Arena, and folks in Seattle are very excited for the return of their hometown team. Now, the second market may come to the surprise of many, as I would assume that most people would guess that a market like Vancouver or Vegas would be the other to receive an expansion team, but instead it will be Nashville who will win the bid for this second team, and the creation of the Nashville Sound has been approved. And taking a look at this team's branding, very minimalistic, which seems to be the trend here of these recent rebrands, or just starting up a brand new brand in this case. And this will be the team that Fiend franchise will be taking over for this series. And I really like this color scheme. I especially like the font of this Nashville. Minimalistic. We might add things as the years go along here, but having the last name below the number is certainly something that's abnormal here in professional basketball. These uniforms are really giving me Oklahoma State vibes from when Cade Cunningham was there, but very excited to take over this team. And of course, got to give a shout out, as I will have put the caption, to the creators who helped with these uniform designs. This is not where I shine, creating my own branding, and so I take from the 2K share. Very thankful for the wonderful people who put all these awesome designs on the platform that I can take from and make content on it. So we will be added to the Eastern Conference, while the Seattle Sonics will be added to the West. Now that the team brandings had been officially agreed upon, it came time to prepare for the expansion drafts that needed to be held prior to the 2023 season. And with the first round pick in the expansion draft, the Nashville Sound would select Bruce Brown, an 80 overall guard from the Indiana Pacers. Of course, played last year with the Denver Nuggets and was an impactful player for that playoff run. And the reason I wanted him is because he's a kind of player who can impact the game without needing the ball. He's a good defender. He makes plays for his teammates, and he can hit the open shot. He's not a big time scorer by any means, but he can cut. And so I think this is just a player that helps impact winning basketball, and with that AIQ. And so I just think this is a player that could still be on the team by the time we're ready to win. Of course, I don't know what his value is to a team that's as bad as we will be this year, but I'm excited to have him on the team, and because I think he can be one of the few players in this draft that has a chance to be on our team for the long haul. And with the second round pick in the expansion draft, the Nashville Sound would select Jaden Hardy, combo guard from the Dallas Mavericks. And if there's one thing Jaden Hardy does well, it is score the ball. He can create shots for himself better than anybody else, I would say, in this expansion draft, especially of these young guys. He's got 3 badges to help him score the ball, and I think early on in this franchise, finding shot creation, that's the toughest thing to find in an expansion draft, so you have to take it early. And then you get a guy who I really liked coming out of the draft in Jaden Hardy. Needs to work on pretty much everything else that doesn't involve, creating looks for himself, but I think he has the potential to maybe get there, and he's going to get every opportunity. Was really, marginalized when you have Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving already creating shots for the team and themselves. He's going to be the lead shot creator when he's on the court for this team. And with the 3rd round pick in the expansion draft, the Nashville Sound would select Talen Horton-Tucker. Yes, 3 straight guards seems a little weird, but I do think Jaden Hardy is best served as a bucket getter off the bench. I don't think he's quite a starting level player, and so let him play his natural role as just kind of the microwave scorer off the bench. And Talen Horton-Tucker is just the best combination of overall and low age we can get, and very weird body type. He is 6'4", 234 pounds. I think his wingspan is at or around 7 feet. Really weird archetype of a player. Feels like he's been in the league for quite some time, still just 22. He can defend. He can create plays for others. He can run in transition. He can score inside. Not much of a shooter, but I think he can run our offense with that high IQ, and that's what we're going to ask him to do. And then with our 4th pick in the expansion draft, the Nashville Sound would select Jalen Johnson, a 21-year-old, 2-year pro out of Duke, formerly of the Atlanta Hawks. And this is kind of a guy who has a blank slate. He's a good athlete. He's solid at a lot of things. He's not great at anything. And so he has a chance to really kind of develop into maybe whatever kind of player you want. I don't think he'll ever be a high-end shooter, but provides athleticism. He can block some shots. He can play solid defense. You can run the pick and roll, and he can score off of that. Maybe a little bit early for him here, but the Sonics were going to take Bogdan Bogdanovic if I didn't take him at this 3-4 turn. And so that's exactly what I did. And with the 5th pick in the expansion draft, the Nashville Sound would select Isaiah Hartenstein, big man out of Germany, played last year with the New York Knicks, and the name of his game is his rebounding ability. And from the guys that we've drafted already, we're going to be a team that wants to get out and run and take advantage of the ball handling that we have and the athleticism that we've drafted thus far. And if you want to play that style of get out and run, you have to have a center that can rebound. And that's exactly what Isaiah Hartenstein can do. Can also score inside a bit. Not much of a defender, which could be problematic for us, but let's be honest, we're not winning much in this first year anyway. Now with the 6th pick in the 2023 NBA expansion drafts, we would select Moses Moody. Now we're reaching a little bit here overall wise, but this is a former lottery pick who can score at all 3 levels. Still has some potential in him. Solid athlete, solid defender. I think he can do a little bit of everything. And that's the kind of player that we're looking for. Just give him a chance. Of course, like I said, picked at 14 just a couple years ago. Hasn't really had a chance to do much with the Warriors. He's going to have that chance with our team. And now it became clear that we needed maybe a little bit more shooting and some more veterans on the team, but that would have to hold off for one more round. As with our next pick, we would select Zaire Williams, another 2021 lottery pick who just hasn't had much time to prove himself in the league because he's playing on a good playoff team in the Memphis Grizzlies. He can score, not really from three very well, but from the mid-range and inside. He can defend, he's got length, he is a good athlete, and still has some potential about him to maybe become somebody down the road. Now, with these next two picks, we would definitely start to focus in on shooting a little bit, starting with Duncan Robinson, would be the next pick in the expansion draft for us. B+ mid-range scoring, A 3-point shooting. He's got by far the most badges on the team with 10. A lot of them, in fact, all of them are shooting badges. And so he will probably be the only good shooter on the team this year. Needs to probably start because of that, so we can have some shooting in the starting lineup. Not a great contract, but with this being a draft-only franchise, which I know I haven't explained yet, but I will in just a minute, contracts aren't really going to be a problem. And with our next pick, we would go back to the veteran shooter well with Yuta the Shooter Watanabe. Who only has 3 badges, but they are 3 really good shooting badges. A 3-point scorer. And that's what I wanted out of this pick. The 29-year-old signed with the Suns in this free agency period. Last played for the Nets. And then the last player that we'll highlight here is Goga Bitadze, who will play backup center for us. He has a build very similar to that of Isaiah Hartenstein, a rebounder, B inside scorer. If we're gonna play a style to get out and run and try to get this to our shooters and shoot early in the shot clock, you need the guys on the inside to be good at rebounding, and that's what we have here with Goga Bitadze. Now, apart from those 10, we would just take a flyer on a few more, young guys here. Jaden Springer would be one. Marion Beauchamp from the Bucks. Patrick Baldwin. And Kai Jones would fill out the roster. Those guys don't really project to play much this season, unless there's an injury, or maybe, I think maybe these small forwards that we drafted do have a chance even without injury to play some, but that is our year 1 team. Let's go ahead and take a look at what our rivals did in the expansion draft. If you've seen any other channels that have done an expansion draft, you'll notice that guys that are typically taken, like Bill, sometimes Domantas Sabonis, Jalen Duren, none of those guys were picked. I manually made sure that those guys were protected because it made no sense for those 3 players not to get protected in an expansion draft. So the teams just aren't gonna be very good. That's the reality of the situation. But that's good because I feel like when you have a CPU controlled expansion team, they just take a ton of bad contracts, which is why guys like Beal and Sabonis would be available theoretically, is because of their contracts. And this allows some more freedom. Yes, they do have some highly paid players, but Dinwiddie, that's a 1-year deal. Grant is pretty big, but Naz Reid, also a shorter term deal. So they do have some big deals, but some of them aren't for very long. So they should have some freedom to do what they want. But they have Dinwiddie, Monty Morris, who I almost selected, but I decided to go Taylor Horton Tucker instead, and Jose Alvarado. It's a pretty interesting point guard room. KCP, who I did want, but ultimately decided to go against it because he's one of the main players in some other expansion franchises that I've seen. Isaiah Joe. I tried to avoid taking players that I picked in my 2K23 franchise, and Isaiah Joe is one of them. And Chris Duarte. Intriguing couple of backups there with a good win now guy in Caldwell Pope. Not that the Sonics are in win now mode at all. Max Strus, Dylan Brooks, another guy with a long bad contract. This is some bad stuff here. 2 4-year contracts. Probably not what you want. And then Jalen McDaniels. I tried to help the CPU not get in these bad contracts, but here you got 4, 4, and 5 years. So they won't have cap space still. Even though I tried to help them, they just can't help themselves, man. They want these beastly contracts, which is unfortunate. Now, of course, you have more than players here. You also have a scouting and coaching staff, and we'll take a look at what I've done there for this team. Just kept everything base here with the front office. In terms of a coach, we have hired Oliver Gordon. He was, in my mind, the best coach on the market. We fired the guy that they default gave to us. He has 2 badges that I think are going to be really good for this franchise. Teacher helps our young guys get badges at a quicker rate, and underdog advocate, which means he will spend time with our second round and undrafted players, which we will have a lot of in this series, helping them overachieve. So really with my assistant head coach, I just wanted him to get mentor. Rejuvenator's not going to really come into play for us, but he does have mentor as well. And the other thing with Oliver Gordon is he does have 4.5-star potential and pretty well rounded. Everything's at least 2 stars here. Got good basketball IQ, and so I'm pretty excited about that. Wasn't too thrilled with the assistant coaching options, so we just have a 1-year offer on a shot doctor and a guard guru who does have a number of badges. Scouting, we have a full staff here. Now, most of these guys I didn't really like, so they're all getting 1-year deals, but hopefully we can get some better options next draft. But hey, we do have a 4-star scouting department, so looking forward to getting as much information as possible for this upcoming draft. In terms of our sports medicine, very thin here. We only have a team doctor who does have 5-star sports medicine. We also have a stamina trainer to help us tire less quickly in games. I also went ahead and signed Michael Stauffer to the Sonics, hopefully trying to help that rebuild as well. But sometimes they'll fire their head coach because their roster is so expensive, which again is something I tried to avoid with manually protecting some players. But regardless, they still have an expensive roster, so they might fire Michael Stauffer. Hopefully they don't, though. They might need to manually trade one of their big contracts away. Sometimes the CPU just needs a little bit of help in managing a roster. So there you have it. This is the year 1 squad. And now that the team is announced, I'd like to take the opportunity to just kind of explain what this series is for anyone who may be new to the channel with this series. And like I mentioned briefly before, and I probably put in the title of this video, this will be a draft only franchise. And what that means is that from this episode on, the only way I can add onto this team is through the NBA draft and with undrafted free agency. With no signing free agents, no trading for players, with a small caveat to that, but that's the only way we can build a roster up, is with whoever 2K generates in our draft classes. And for this first season, I have a little bit of a custom class that we'll be using to hopefully kickstart a little bit of a rebuild with at least one good player, but if, of course, the lottery is kind to us. But for the most part, it'll just be 2K generated players outside of like a couple of picks at the top of this year's draft. So that's how this series will run. The other thing we should mention is that this will be a CPU versus CPU gameplay franchise. We will be watching franchises. All the games that we watch will be much like this. It will be with the broadcast view, which isn't available in a scrimmage. I tried my best to doctor one similar from the options that were available to me, but we will be watching in broadcast view. I will not be controlling any players. We are the GM here. It's our job to build a championship contender, not see how good I am at, running an offense and getting good shot timing and stuff like that. And I know there's other options like real player shooting percentage. Ultimately, the reason that I really enjoy, actually with this new scoreboard, I actually have to go like this. There we go. So you can at least see the score now that I'm looking at my camera here. But the reason I like CPU versus CPU in 2K is just how many sliders there are to make the games really interesting. I will be showing the sliders after I kind of finish explaining here and we finish watching this little scrimmage. But so many sliders to tailor the experience how you want. And the second reason I do it is when you play the games, there's a major aspect of the game that just kind of gets taken out when you're playing, and that is player tendencies, right? No matter what a player's tendency is, if I'm controlling them, they do what I want them to do, not necessarily what they would do. For example, like THT, maybe THT, he would like to take a ton of threes off the dribble, off of a screen in this series. From what I've seen so far in the scrimmage, doesn't look like he's going to be doing that a ton, but maybe he is. And that would be something I would never do if I were controlling THT myself. And so it just kind of makes every player play like you like to play 2K and not necessarily play like themselves. And I think it takes out the personality of that player. Now, the tendencies would still come into play, of course, in simulation. And that's going to be a big part of the regular season. But come playoff time, we're going to be watching most of these games. And I really like to have to pay attention to player tendencies and have that be another factor in whether a player can really be a long-term starter for us, or if, it's just not going to work out because the player's tendencies are too bad. It gives another way for a player to maybe play above his ratings or below his ratings. And so that's why I prefer CPU versus CPU in 2K specifically. Also, I'm good enough at the game that I've never been able to find sliders when I'm actually playing that are both satisfying to play, and I feel like I'm rewarded for being good at the game, while also at the same time not being able to just beat up on the CPU and constantly play above my rating. That's always been a problem I've had when I've played games on 2K. So I really like the CPU versus CPU setting. Now, I will be providing the commentary. I'll be turning the commentary off. I'll be turning the music off, of course, because I can't have 2K's music in the background of my YouTube videos. But I'll commentate on the games, kind of what we're seeing. And we're basically playing this like I'm the GM. You guys are pretty much my scouts. You guys can tell me what you think is going on, what you think we can improve. I will be setting lineups. Of course, I'll be making the roster decisions. The only thing we're not doing is we're not hopping on the sticks and controlling these players come game time. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to explain. The last thing is kind of the pace of this series. Generally, I go at about an episode a month pace, especially if the team is bad. If we're good, or if we have like a really exciting new rookie, I might go slower than that at the start of a season. Or if, we're fighting for a playoff spot and it's really close, or at some point in the series, hopefully fighting for the number 1 seed. If there's something to play for at the end, we'll slow it down as well. But generally, about an episode a month. Sometimes we'll watch full games. Sometimes we'll go like MLB The Show's critical situations. I'll simulate until there's like 5 minutes left in the fourth. If it's a close game, we'll hop into that and we'll do several games of that. I'm also open to other kind of episode formats that you guys might think of, but that's kind of how I like to run things in terms of pacing. So now that I've kind of explained everything, that's all the, bookkeeping items to say for this first episode, let's just go ahead and finish out this scrimmage. We'll say playing a game of 21. First to 21 wins. You got to win by 2, of course, as well. That's how 21 works. But off the mark by Goga Bidatse. I think this team is going to be quite bad. One of the things that I do in sliders that I'll show after this game is I make simulator difficulty. I turn that up just because I feel like you can make the play-in with a pretty bad team if you keep simulator difficulty at 50. And that just ruins our chances of ever getting a high draft pick, which I feel like is going to be very important in a series like this because I'll never be able to sign that star free agent, you know? So the only way we're getting a star is if we have a high draft pick. Or I guess find a steal. But revamping the simulator difficulty, I'm expecting this to be a very bad year. I think we're particularly bad offensively. I'm gonna create a game plan and I'll probably show you all the game plans at the beginning of next episode. But these guys need to shoot the dang ball. I just don't think there's very much scoring, as evidenced by this possession. Just nobody can find a shot that they like and just shoot the ball. Taylor Horton-Tucker has been driving on Bruce Brown for a whole entirety of a shot clock, basically. There we go. We got a shot. Zaire Williams, he's terrible at threes, so he misses that one. Bruce Brown the other way. Oh, you got Jalen Johnson. Hit him. I think he would have had him if he was looking for it. Jalen Johnson from the elbow kicks to Bruce Brown in the corner. Come on, let's get a score here. There we go. Nice pick and roll and the slam. Finish it off. The Ballers are a bucket away from sealing away the victory. Players starting to get tired now. This is a little bit of a weird angle. Not as good as broadcast. It's about as good as I could do. Yuta the shooter. Kicks to Talon. Pick and roll top of the key, off the dribble. Talon's firing and hitting. All right, we are tied 19 apiece. Next basket will seal the deal. Bruce Brown kicks it inside to Jalen Johnson. He goes up. He missed it though. Goga Bidatse pulls it in. Taylor Horton-Tucker for the win. No! Bidatse got the board. We have another shot here for the Ringers. Won't fall for them either. Moody. He has it. He's all by himself. Isolated in the post. Rises up and missed again. Neither team looks like they truly want this game to be over. They're having so much fun. Horton-Tucker, crazy shots. It's off the mark. We're now combined like 0 for 5 since it's been next shot wins. So that's really fun. Gotta occasionally press a button so Xbox still knows I'm here. And another scoreless possession. Come on, baby. Score in transition here. Let's get this scrimmage over with. This could be a sneak peek of how hard it's going to be to score come episode 2, which will be coming out shortly. Yuta, no good. Why isn't Jaden Hardy in this scrimmage? Why is Jaden Springer playing over Jaden Hardy? That's what I really want to know. My goodness. How many shots will be missed when all we need to do is make one to finish this horrible scrimmage? Actually wasn't bad. I had a decent pace for a while, but everybody's tired now. All those G's. Just need somebody to find a shot that they like. Springer for the win, and he got it. The Ringers will come away victorious in this scrimmage. We will be having opening night against the Phoenix Suns at home next episode. But like I said before that, I do want to talk about some of my sliders. We do full 12-minute quarters. I will say I'm taking all of these sliders and their slightly adjusted version of Stumpy's sliders, who also does a CPU versus CPU franchise on 2K. Also does expansion. That one's not draft only, but it is really good. I would recommend that for sure. His slider sets are always really good. All of these are off. Nothing is automated. We had 8 protected players. Draft class quality, we bump a little bit to 59, just so we have more players kind of in the B range. And maybe you'll have 2 or 3 good players instead of usually 1. Lowered career injury frequency down to 25. Simulator difficulty, Stumpy keeps his at 50. I like to raise mine, make it a little bit harder to make the playoffs. Trade negotiation difficulty, I have at 80. Contract negotiation difficulty, I've raised up 10 to 60. CPU re-signing aggressiveness also raised. Morale is going to be a little bit more difficult. This is something that I actually lowered in my 2K23 series. This time we're raising it to add a little bit of a challenge. But when morale is good, it's really good. When morale is bad, it's really bad. Chemistry difficulty, all the way up at 90. I think Stumpy has his in like the mid 80s. I'm going harder. I like it to be very hard to develop chemistry, but when you get it, it's very impactful. Slightly raising injury frequency, but lowering the effects of when somebody is injured. This is very important. This tab is very important for how the league sims. You want the league to sim and try to replicate as close as you can to what happens in real life. These are the sliders that will do that. I didn't really have these sliders in NBA 2K23, so I'm excited to see how they'll impact sim stats in this series. Team pace down to 32, possessions down, shots down to 43 here. Blocks are up, turnovers are down, and fouls are down. Boosted layups a little bit here and shot close, and then nerfed threes a slight bit as well. Dunk percentage down a little bit, but layups are buffed, as are close range shots, but then medium and 3-point. People will not be hitting these nearly as often. We'll give a slight boost to how people shoot their free throws. Shot distribution, the top shooters will take a little bit more shots than their counterparts. And that is it for that. Ticker doesn't really have much of an impact, so you can do whatever you want there. Now, a very important rating is game speed. Oh, and apparently I didn't do it yet on this franchise, so that it will be a little bit misrepresented by the scrimmage we just watched. But game speed at 56 is very important for the sliders that I'm about to show you for gameplay, so that they'll work properly. I would turn off stuff like gameplay indicators can be turned off, just all these things, because it doesn't really matter in CPU versus CPU, honestly, but just in case. And action replays, it just depends on how much you want the replays. This stuff doesn't really matter, but for me, I'll be turning commentary volume down, of course, and player chat down. I like the crowd to be a little bit louder, so I boost it slightly. But what really matters here is the CPU versus user sliders. Now, you don't need to do anything for the user. The user you can keep at 50. But apparently that I hadn't done anything with the sliders. I thought I had before. But here we go, CPU versus CPU. These are the sliders. Again, I'm taking this mostly from Stumpy. A couple of slight alterations, but nothing big. He's always done a good job making sliders super good for his franchises. And so I will say, in my little bit of testing that I've done, offense might be a little bit too easy on these sliders. So I might be nerfing some of the offensive success just a tad bit off of what he's done in his franchise. But my sample size is still really small. I want to play more games with these sliders before I decide to make any adjustments. But there you have it. Those are the sliders for this franchise, which brings me to the end of this first episode. We will be back for the home opener of the Nashville Sound soon. And I will see you then.